Yo, what's up? Welcome back to the sexiest channel on YouTube. That's for sure. Um, are we headed for a technological stagnation? I know this sounds pretty crazy. Um, and I'm gonna explain my stuff here because it sounds kind of crazy, right? Like I'm recording this video in 2025. The only word you hear all the time is AI, AI, AI.
AI, AI, generative AI, generative AI, generative AI, AI as AI, 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 AI. It uses AI to bring AI.
Shut the fuck up! Seems like it's the opposite, right? We are not headed at all for technological stagnation, but rather a incredible improvement, innovation, right? And yeah, that's certainly true. And yeah, but at the same time, this might not be true. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about this idea. Basically, I mean, at the end of the day, this idea I got it from a book, and I'm just gonna try to explain what I understood about it. And at the end of the day, this book wasn't written in 2025. Let me actually check when it was written. 2022. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't the moment where we got the AI boom, right? But it's still a book that takes AI into account a lot, right? So I don't know. It's just let me just go through it. So basically, I want to start with just yeah, like there's this like assumption, and I mean I don't blame a lot of people, but because we are humans, right, and we all make a lot of assumptions. But this one is really dangerous, or not dangerous, but we gotta really be like aware of the assumption. There's a super great assumption in regards to life always getting better, or I shall say, technology always getting better, right? It's like innovation. There's always constant innovation, but no, like in reality, I mean, it's not that it's not getting better. Like we shouldn't assume that technology just naturally progresses, right? Like in order for technology to progress, there has to be a lot of people, a lot of very smart people working basically like hell, working super hard. A lot of smart people working super hard in order to have all these innovations, right? That we all want and love and assume. So, yeah, I think we should get that out of the way because it's not that's not how it works, right? And actually this idea that I'm talking about, or at least the book, it's called "What Do We Owe the Future" by William MacAskill or something like that. Very interesting, but one of the ideas actually seem counterintuitive. It says that progress is actually slowing down, or at least from what I understood, say like meaningful progress is slowing down. So I'm gonna actually put the chart that is on the book. Um, well, no, before I do that, like for example, to make this idea sink in, let's talk about like the massive life changes that have happened between the 1870s and, for example, the 1970s. So basically 100 years apart, just 100 years. So yeah, so from 1870 to 1970, so we basically got, I mean, I'm obviously oversimplifying, but generally most people got, indoor plumbing, electricity, cars, planes. Like, we're talking about things that like actually dramatically changed the lives of most of of the human population. So, for example, plumbing. Well, that's an obvious one, right? There's better hygiene. There's better waste management of all the waste that we humans regenerate, right? It's better health, less illness, and just a much more organized society. Then we have electricity. That was a big one. So we went from, or at least, yeah, people went from having to have like their lamps with kerosene into having electricity. This is actually something interesting because JP Morgan, like we all know JP Morgan from, being these incredible, like super successful banker and whatever. But he actually was a big contributor to these electricity change. Like he was a big investor in that. He actually invested a lot into Thomas Edison, into basically the electrification of I mean, primarily the United States, but obviously that influenced the entire world. So that's an interesting thing. Yeah, whatever. Electricity, which obviously was super important. Like cars, we went like from horses to cars, right? And then planes, with the Wright brothers at the beginning of the 20th century. Yeah, planes was, I mean, that was incredible. So you can just see that in that 100-year period, and it's crazier that in just 100 years all that happened. Like you can, I think you can see where I'm going. Basically, from the 1870s to the 1970s, we, or at least humanity, got those dramatical, like those changes that actually dramatically changed the lives of most of the human population. Right now, compare that to 1970s to today, which in this case, well, per purposes of the book, let's say to 2022, we got just what? Better TVs, smartphones, computers, personal computers. I mean, obviously, smartphone. I'm saying it like if smartphones, TVs, personal computers weren't something that it was dramatical, like the internet, like that was super dramatical. And I actually will argue the author of this book that, man, you should like at least, obviously the reason why he's saying it that way is because he's comparing it to these other technologies and other these other technological progress. And I actually agree, right? Like, yeah, for sure. Like, for example, smartphones, I mean, were just a natural extension, or obviously a much better form of telephones, right? But it wasn't something as, like, it was basically a super big improvement on something rather than being a dramatical breakthrough. For example, going from horses to cars, I think that was an incredible dramatical breakthrough, much more higher dramatical breakthrough than, I don't know, like I said, going from a telephone to a smartphone. Obviously, that's very relative because in smartphones, I don't know, but I get the idea of the author. Hopefully, you get the idea too. Like basically, the argument here is, hey, we have had more dramatical improvements that have actually affected the lives of, dramatically improved and affected the lives of most of the human population in the from the 1870s to the 1970s that we have gotten from the 1970s to today, right? Like basically the only advancements, and this is actually something that I agree with you, is like the only primary advances that have actually affected the lives of the human population from 1970 until today has been all in like computers, right? So with the personal computer, the internet, smartphones, like in other areas, like for example transportation. I mean, we still have cars, like hopefully you get the idea. So that's like an area in the case of computer science where obviously there has been dramatic progress. Um, and in other areas, basically, it's like if we haven't got any progress at all. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying here, but like I hope you get the idea. Then there's this thing, which is this idea of the long hanging fruit. It's basically that the easiest discoveries and inventions is basically that the easiest ones, obviously easy because they were hard, but you know, relatively easy, already happened. So basically, this idea is that, man, humanity tends to solve the easiest problems first, make the easiest innovations and the easiest discoveries first, because it's obvious, right? That gives you instant results and whatever, and obviously it's easier, so that's why you do it. And you know, in this case, it seems like there has been slowing down, right? It's like if we have already picked that low hanging fruit, and now we need a ladder to have more discovery. So basically, like breakthroughs are harder and harder to solve, and the concept is that, you know, let's say for example, before I say this, I think I should is very valuable to define what technological progress means, because I have been talking about, hey, technological progress. Well, that what does that even mean? Well, I think this is a great way to view it, to use technological progress based on something like total factor productivity. So, total factor productivity. So, total factor productivity is basically the portion of output growth not explained by increased inputs alone. What do you mean by total factor? Okay, whatever. So basically, technological progress, and I really do agree with this, is basically that you get more output from the same inputs. So for example, if in you for example in agriculture, so in agriculture in, I don't know, these 1500s, you have a square mile, right, where you have your agriculture there, and in that case, on that square mile, you basically are getting, I don't know, I'm just gonna get up numbers with no units just to make it an example. You have you input 100 and you get 60 out that are that is great for human consumption. Then nowadays you input 100 and you get, I don't know, 98 out. So in that case, you got more out from what you put in. So in that case, there was progress. So that was like technological progress. Okay, what was the technological progress that allowed that? Well, in this case, will be fertilizers, chemicals, and all that allow for the agriculture to be much better quality and less prone to external threats and whatever. So I think that's a great example. And yeah, basically, we gotta define technological progress like that. You get more out for what you put in. So, based on that, let me go to the example that I was about to get to of the low hanging fruit, and that problems and breakthroughs are harder and harder. So, for example, you have 10 people, right? You have 10 people that are basically working, basically got a breakthrough, and the amount of time that I got to that breakthrough was 10 years, right? Now, those that same number of people works on the next breakthrough, which is harder and is going to take them 40 years. The next is harder, 80 years. Those same people, right? So basically, obviously, I'm more oversimplifying here, but hopefully you're understanding, right? So now, in order to get the next breakthroughs and the next innovations and whatever that are harder and harder every time, you either need to increase the amount of people working on the problem, or you need an incredible breakthrough that helps you and gives you insane leverage to also solve the problem much faster. So, for example, on the breakthrough that on the initial breakthrough example that I got, where the same 10 people got to that breakthrough in 10 years. Let's say you now get, I don't know, 50 people. Well, maybe they got with 50 people instead of 10 years. Now they got the breakthrough in 1 year, you know? And same with the next one. So the one that took 40 maybe now takes, I don't know, 5 years with 100 people or 50 people. You know what I'm getting. That's one way, right? One way. Now, I mean, obviously, it's not like we are gonna make most of the population a researcher, scientist, or engineer to come up with these breakthroughs, because we still need a lot of people in other areas, right? So it's not like that's gonna happen. Then is this other part, which is basically about having um, a super breakthrough. In this case, we refer to it as, artificial intelligence or super intelligence, that basically, when used by those the same 10 people that come up with a breakthrough in 10 years, it's like if they were it's like if they got to the power of a million researchers. So it's like they have like a million and 10, 1,010,000 like researchers, the 10 being the biological ones and the other million being the digital ones with super intelligence, right? But it doesn't matter if it's biological or not. Like, they have a lot of people now, and people, right, have a lot of intelligence. So now they can come up with the breakthrough instead of in 10 years, maybe in months. So because they have those 10 people, they have this huge leverage of intelligence in this case. So that's like those two ways in which we could get there, in which we could get to more and more innovations, breakthroughs, which are harder and harder. And obviously, this comes with a risk, because, like, basically what we want here is, hey, we want more breakthroughs. We know that's great, right? So how do we get there? Because we seems like you were slowing down. Well, we could either increase the number of people, but I mean, it's not like we're gonna after, I don't know, after a lot of breakthroughs we will need even more people. So I think the greater thing will be develop super intelligence, but also have more people working towards breakthroughs. So you have more people that can spread and work through different things and have breakthroughs in different areas, because now they have the support of super intelligence, and I think that would be great. Now, this is another thing that the book argues, because, man, yeah, okay, let's go. We have the solution. Okay, let's develop super intelligence. Another way, another reason to why we need to develop super intelligence, to keep coming up with these breakthroughs, right? But here's the thing, man. Super intelligence, as its name implies, is super intelligence. It's an intelligence that is beyond human, beyond our species. So there's the risk, the typical risk that you have probably already heard of. And thank God, if you haven't already heard of, then that's a concern, because this is a risk that we gotta really, like, solve, especially now that there's starting to be really real advancements in artificial intelligence. But basically, there's an unprecedented risk here, because, okay, if we have kind of concluded that, okay, we need super intelligence to come up with these breakthroughs and keep making humanity better and going forward and whatever, then we need to develop it aligned with ourselves. Like, this is the famous alignment problem, right? How do we align intelligence to ourselves? And this is, I've already talked about this, but the book also talks about a thing called value locking. I mean, I'm just gonna explain it in a very fast manner. Like, this value locking thing is basically that any idea has the probability and is likely to, basically, as its name implies, get locked in humanity, no matter its ethics. Because, for example, slavery was around humanity for a long time, and it will have still probably been around today if it hadn't been for other ideas that got it out of the way, right? Or the Nazis. Like, that was in the 20th century. That was like 1 century ago. That wasn't that long ago, and it was terrible. So basically, this is the argument that, man, any idea, no matter if this ethical or not, has the possibility of basically spreading and really staying for a while in humanity. Now, if that can be done with humanity, like if ideas can stay with humanity, we therefore need to spread the best ideas, basically the ideas that are most likely to lead to a better future for the future generations. Because just as a lot of ideas from the past seem unethical right now, it's very likely that a lot of ideas of today are going to seem unethical in the future. So here the idea is, man, how, like, we need to really be careful in what ideas we spread nowadays, or at least we genuinely and seriously spread, in order to increase the probabilities that the future is great, right? So that's basically the thing. And now, here's the thing. Now imagine that concept of value locking, of the lock-in of ideas with superintelligence. That's gonna be incredibly, like, we're gonna really be incredibly careful, no longer about the ideas, which, as I discussed, but also about how, like, what ideas to spread to this superintelligence. Because, like, let's say this typical example of, man, oh yeah, let's tell the superintelligence that climate change is bad, right? Or something like that. We need to get rid of the parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. We need to reduce that dramatically. And then the superintelligence is like, well, what's the primary thing that's causing this? Oh, humans. Okay, let's wipe them out. And we go extinct. We don't want that at all. So this is the still talking about the alignment problem. It's the difficult thing, right? And yeah, we really need to solve that. It's gonna be very difficult, but hopefully we solve it. And yeah, basically connecting all of these back to the main theme, AGI, or whatever you want to call it, superintelligence, could solve stagnation, right? Or it could also create hell. It's more likely that it creates a positive future where we don't go to that stagnation. And when I mean the technological stagnation is what I just said, man. The progress of significant technological progress is going down. That is actually a trend that is, like, whenever I first saw it, I was like, what? But yeah, like in various areas, obviously computer science was incredible progress in the last few decades. But I'm talking about like general progress in general areas, in various areas. And if that trend continues, because as we said, problems are harder and harder to solve. So we need more people. We need more people, but also we also need super intelligence or something like that. Because even if we get more people and more people, there's gonna be like a limit or a cap of people that actually want to solve these problems. It's not like all people. It's not like the 8 billion humans want to solve these problems. Some people are interested in other stuff. So that's the thing. Could really save us from that stagnation is the most likely thing. But it could also be a serious threat. So yeah, that's the thing. Like basically, I bunched really three a bunch of ideas right here. But basically, the thing is, okay, we let's just not assume that technology. First of all, let's get rid of the assumption that technology progresses naturally like the way it is now. This is because a lot of people, a lot of some very smart people, worked super hard in order for that to happen. Then, knowing that in order to get greater, the next breakthroughs is harder and harder, we need to understand what does that actually mean. That we are going to need more people, or we really need super intelligence. And then, okay, if we need super intelligence, obviously, well, we need to develop it safely, right? So Yeah, we really, I mean, this is a very strange time. But yeah, we really, like, basically the point, the main thing here of all of these ideas is that the decisions that we make in our lifetime about all of these issues could actually affect trillions of lives in the future. Because this is another very interesting point of this book. It basically is like, man, okay, if humanity doesn't go extinct for the next millions of years for any reason whatsoever, this is just the start. Like from humanity history, this is just the start. We are at the start literally, and the rest is gonna be most of humanity history. And the rest includes trillions of future lives. So that's actually crazy. Whenever you frame it that way, it's damn. It's like damn, like the decisions, and it's true. Like the decisions we make in our lifetime, and especially in our lifetime, because it seems like in our lifetime we're actually gonna get to the beginning of superintelligence, or at least that's the trend that we're seeing right now in 2025. Like it can really affect billions of lives, probably trillions too. So basically the whole point of the book and is that we need to shift from this short-term thinking to this long-term thinking. And I don't know, I just it was a very interesting, like most of the ideas that I just talked about in here is just one part of the book that I found really interesting because it's like, man, damn, that's true. I don't know, it's just very thoughtful and it's a great thing to think about when thinking about the future, when thinking about the things we want to do, we want to work on. I don't know. I think it's just very valuable to at least have it on our heads, right? And like this, we might be in the most important generation in history. Like we're the ones standing at the crossroads, at the path where we choose, like at the path where what we choose might determine the future of humanity. Now the real question here is, will we choose wisely? That's the thing.